So we've got your white collar employee. We're paying him properly under the salary test, the right amount and on a salary basis. So now here's where we split off into the three different type of white collar exemptions, the duties test. So we'll start with the executive exemption. The duty test is pretty straightforward. There are 5 criteria, and the employee has to meet all 5. Their duties and responsibilities have to involve the management of the enterprise or of a customarily recognized department or subdivision thereof, like the sales department or particular store, some recognized department or subdivision. Number 2, they have to customarily and regularly direct the work of 2 or more other employees. So they can't just have a single report. They've got to, direct the work of 2 or more employees. Third, they have to have the authority. They have to either have the authority to hire and fire other employees, or their suggestions and recommendations about hiring, firing, advancement, and promotion have to be given particular weight. So if it's a situation where for example, the president always has to make all the final decisions, for this employee to be exempt under the executive exemption, their recommendations of their division or subdivision have to be given pretty strong weight in terms of who to hire, fire, and advancements. They also have to customarily and regularly exercise discretion and independent judgment. And then 5th, they have to be primarily engaged in the duties which meet the test of the exemption. And so primarily means that more than half of their work time has to be on exempt duties. The next exemption is for the administrative exemption. There's several criteria that any administrative exempt employee has to meet. Their duties and responsibilities have to involve the performance of office or non-manual work directly related to the management policies or general business operations of the employer or the employer's customers. I'll just note there's a separate test if you happen to be administering a school system. First of all, welcome to the webinar, but you probably already know this, but there's a separate test for school administrators. And then just as with the executive exemption, the administrative exemption requires that you customarily and regularly exercise discretion and independent judgment. So you have to meet those 2 criteria as a first step. Then if we go to the next slide, please, Anthony. The administrative exemption branches off into 3 paths. So after meeting those first 2 criteria, you have to then meet one of the following 3. First option is that the employee regularly and directly assists a proprietor or an employee who's in a bona fide executive or administrative capacity. The second option is that the employee performs under only general supervision work along specialized or technical lines requiring special training, experience, or knowledge. Or the third path is that the employee executes under only general supervision, special assignments, and tasks. So they got to meet one of those 3 criteria, and then finally, the final requirement that all the administrative exemption employees have to meet is that, again, they're primarily engaged in the exempt duties, which means they're spending more than half of their working time on exempt duties. Then finally, we have the professional exemption for all the lawyers. This has 3 different components. You must meet one of the following. The employee is licensed or certified by the state of California and is primarily engaged in the practice of one of the following recognized professions: law, medicine, dentistry, optometry, architecture, engineering, teaching, or accounting. So that's the licensed portion of the professional exemption. Or alternatively, they're primarily engaged in an occupation that is commonly recognized as a learned or artistic profession. Don't blame me if you don't know what that is. Thank you for letting me. So the learned profession exemption, part of the professional exemption, is for work that requires knowledge of an advanced type of field in a field or science. Advanced type in a field of science or learning customarily acquired by a prolonged course of specialized intellectual instruction and study, as distinguished from a general academic education. And so the two big key parts of that are it's in a field of science and learning, and it requires a prolonged course of specialized intellectual instruction and study. The labor commissioner generally takes a position that an advanced academic degree, something above a bachelor level, is a standard prerequisite for someone to be qualified under this learned profession. So a bachelor level employee is likely not going to, in the labor commissioner's view, meet this exemption. And then the artistic profession is work that is, so there's two parts of this test. Work that is original and creative in character in a recognized field of artistic endeavor, as opposed to work which can be produced by a person endowed with general manual or litigation or intellectual ability and training, and the result of which depends primarily on the invention, imagination, or talent of the employee. And the labor commissioner said that these recognized fields include not limited to, but include music, writing, theater, and the plastic and graphic arts. And then separately, the work has to be predominantly intellectual and varied in character, as opposed to mental, manual, routine, manual, mental, or physical, and is of such character that the output produced or the result accomplished cannot be standardized in relation to a given period of time. So think of your artist, not necessarily the barista who may do really nice pictures with the phone, but probably not going to be an artistically exempt professional. Sorry to the baristas.